So I've been seeing it floating around that it's bad that the Montreal Canadiens are winning, and I understand the sentiment. People who are on this train are saying that it's bad because the Habs haven't had a foundational superstar, face of the league type guy in so long, and they need one to win. And if they run themselves out of the Connor Bedard race by winning, which, hey, again, I told you before the season, I think this team has enough skill to do it. It's bad for the franchise in the long run, and they need to start losing. They need to start tanking. And to me, I just don't think that's the case. I think even if the Habs finish like 2 to 6 points out of a playoff spot, but they're competitive every night, and you think, okay, every night you walk into a game as a Montreal Canadien and you're ready, you think you can win, and you have a chance to win, and you come close, or either do it every night against good teams, like, that's such a great developmental season, all right? And now you've got Drake singing about you, skating through this album like a Montreal Canadien, the guy from Toronto. I think this is a great little season for the Montreal Canadiens if they end up being all right, okay? If they don't completely suck and end up with a chance at Connor Bedard, I think it's okay because you're giving the young guys, like, it's not just Caufield and Suzuki who are taking another step and realizing, okay, like, we can win with this core and we're a good team. No, it's guys like Caden Gooley, guys like Arbor Xhekaj, which, by the way, Xhekaj, just as a side note, I knew he was, like, decent, and I knew he wasn't just a meathead who fights, but man, is he impressing me. He's got some skill as a defenseman. Like, he can do a lot of things. He can make great passes, good shots. He's mobile, he can skate, and he makes good decisions. He's got a good head on his shoulders, which you need for a defenseman. I was not expecting that. But yeah, Gooley, Xhekaj, right? Of course, Suzuki, Caufield, Kirby Dach, who's had a terrible start to his career. Finally, things are turning around. Dare I say, could Kirby Dach turn into a star because of how he's playing right now? Like, seriously, the type of confidence that's going to give him. And again, there's a difference between putting up points on a bad team and putting up points on a good team where you're like, okay, not only am I scoring, but I can win in the NHL. And that's such a good feeling. Like, I always bring up the example of like the 2010 to 2015 pre-McDavid Oilers, like the ones that always got like guys like Yakupov and Nugent Hopkins first overall, Taylor Hall, those teams. Like, everyone was okay with them losing, including the players, because it was always about that next first overall pick. Oh, we'll get him next year. It's okay if we lose right now. So you build a culture where it's like, okay if you lose the game and if you mail it in and you put in like 60% effort, but you get a cookie, you get a goal and an assist, but you mail it in and you're cherry picking at the blue line half the game. I watch a lot of those games, trust me. Guys like Hall, Eberle, even Nugent Hopkins, beginning of his career, Yakupov, like they were doing that stuff, right? Because it didn't matter to win. We're tanking anyways, right? And I love that the Habs are not adopting that mentality. And I understand that no NHL team is going to publicly say they're adopting that mentality, but the eye test tells you. You can tell which teams are doing it and which teams are not by watching the games, okay? And the Habs, trust me, they're not doing it by any stretch of the imagination. Every game they're going out there, they're thinking, we can win and we want to win, so let's go try to win. And I love that so much. And it's going to form so much belief and confidence in the team, which in the long run, that's going to be so valuable. Like, there's definitely teams in the NHL, I'm convinced the Flames before this year were one of them, where you go into some games with a mentality of like, you're already almost going to lose, right? Like, every time the Calgary Flames played the Edmonton Oilers last year, it was like they thought and they knew Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl were going to light them up, and they were going to lose because of it. And yes, they won a couple of regular season games here and there, and they had that drubbing in Game 1 of the Round 2 playoffs, but it's like they knew that at some point Connor was just going to burn them, or Leon was just going to burn them, and they couldn't win. Whereas with this Habs team, they've got players from that 2021 run who did things like when they were down 3-1 against the Leafs, right? Or when they were down in that series against Vegas, or even when you got your foot on the gas like they did against Winnipeg in the second round in 2021, just executing, putting it to bed, like giving them no life. Like, if that's the Leafs or even the Flames, they probably would have given the Jets some life in that series. Montreal said no. good night. We want to move on. And, dude, I'm telling you, core players on this team have that killer instinct. And take it from somebody who's watched his whole life NHL teams and cheered for them who don't have killer instinct. I'm looking at you, Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk. I'm looking at you, Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. I'm even looking at guys back in the day, like the older Flames teams, like Olli Jokinen, Tanguay with Jerome McGinley. Like, I'm sorry, those teams, they did not have killer instinct. It's so refreshing to see a young team with 20-year-olds, 22, 23-year-olds with that killer instinct, even in a rebuilding year. I want the Habs to keep winning. I think it's really good for their development. And even if they don't get a top 5 or even top 10 pick in this upcoming draft, so be it. I know it's a strong draft, but the Habs already have so many prospects and picks that honestly are seemingly going to come up aces. Do you remember Owen Beck? Remember Lane Hudson? Okay, Joshua Roy? There's a lot of guys in that system, and I'm forgetting a bunch of them because there's so many with a lot of potential. Put them in the comments down below. Other guys who are like higher ceiling, higher potential. I know that Owen Beck and Lane Hudson look awesome, and those two are probably the top of my list, but let me know who else. I'm so happy. If they keep winning, every time the Habs win, I'm not going to be one of those people saying, oh no, the tank, I want them to tank. I'm going to have a huge smile on my face. I think it's so good for the team and their development and for the league, to the Montreal Canadiens to be good. I think it's just a good thing. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.